Good afternoon, everybody. We'll just wait another minute and then we'll start the webinar. Okay, good afternoon, everybody. We'll start the webinar in about 30 seconds. We've still got people joining. Okay, I will get started. We've still got quite a lot of people joining, but we said that we'd start at 1 o'clock. So welcome everybody to this afternoon's webinar on the European Contact Centre and Customer Service Awards. The webinar will take around about 20 minutes, and then at the end of the session, we'll take questions and answers. You can ask questions. So if you look on the right-hand side of your screen, you'll see that you can chat with the moderator. So we have got somebody moderating the webinar. So any questions at all that you've got, we'll do our best to answer those throughout this session, or we'll pick them up right at the end. And if there's any that we don't manage to get to because of time, we will pick those up separately. But hopefully we'll cover most things throughout the course of the session. So I'm going to be the main host of today's session. I'm going to talk you through the approach from top to bottom in terms of the categories and the nomination process. And I'm also joined by Jackie Pringle, who's Head of Operations for ECCCSA. Hello, Jackie.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. Looking forward to working with you all on these awards.
Okay, so what we're going to cover today. So I'm going to talk through an overview of the European Awards, fondly known as the ECCCSAs, in case you're not quite sure how to pronounce it. We're going to walk through each of the categories, and then Jackie's going to talk you step by step through the process. We've made it as simple as possible, but she'll talk you through that page by page on the entry form. We'll then talk through the judging process and how that works, and then we'll cover a little bit around the awards evening, and then finish off talking about a little bit more around the support that's available to you on an ongoing basis. Okay, so here's the aspiration. That is OVO Energy doing their famous conga to the stage for winning Support Team of the Year at last year's awards, headed by their Customer Services Director. So in terms of a little bit of background about the ECCCSAs, so the European Contact Centre and Customer Service Awards are the largest and the longest running awards programme in our industry. It has a strong reputation for a robust judging process and for recognising organisations that are trailblazing, that are leading the way in delivering great service to customers. We're looking for organisations that have a strong people focus, a strong customer focus, that they're innovating, they're trying new things for the industry, but most importantly, they're helping to raise standards year on year across our industry. So last year, in 2017, we had organisations from across many different European countries, as you can see there. We have over 300 entries from over 70 organisations, both large and small organisations. We have 23 categories, and we shortlisted 8 organisations per category. The awards dinner itself had over 1,100 people at the awards dinner in London, so that made it the biggest event that we've ever held. I'd like to do a quick poll, if I may, just to understand in terms of the audience, is this the first time that you've taken part in these awards? Did you enter last year, so you know something about the process? Did you enter the year before? Or have you ever entered previously? So if you can click just to give me and Jackie a good idea in terms of people's familiarity, I guess, with the process. Okay, so just hang on for a few more votes to come in there. We've had about half people. Okay, a few more votes coming in. I can see we've got some people on the attendee list that are familiar names that we know, and other people that are quite new names, and some from industry bodies. That's great. Okay, so thank you very much for that. So if we just end the vote on that, share the results. So that looks like 50% of you that are on this call, it's the first time that you've entered. Okay, that's great. So we will go through this in quite some detail, so it gives you a comprehensive overview. So that's a quick insight. Those of you that were there last year will remember the size of the room and the number of people that attended. We spared no expense on making sure that it was a very professional events dinner. There's no kind of hiding behind tables where you can't see the screens. It was all a very highly entertaining evening. So what's new for 2018? So we've introduced some new categories. What we do every year is we go out to the judges, the judging panel, and we ask for their opinions on the nominations that they saw, but also what changes they're seeing in the industry. So we released a number of categories, and we, on their advice, implemented a few new categories, which you can see here. I'm going to go through those in a little bit more detail when we go through each of the categories shortly. The theme at the event last year, we had Alpine Ski Resort. Those of you that will remember, so the whole event is themed. We will have a new theme for this year's awards, which we're just working through. We'd like to keep that as a surprise on the evening, but it will be a fresh theme. Okay, so that's one of the awards that hopefully you're aspiring to win this year. Okay, so moving on to the categories, which I guess is the most important part of this webinar. So as you can see, we've broken it down into 6 distinct groups. So you've got Innovation and Technology Awards, you've got Operational Effectiveness Awards, Team categories, Customer Experience categories, Employee Experience categories, and then Contact Centre Awards. So hopefully they're all self-explanatory. When you go onto the website and you click through to each of these, they each have a description so that you can understand exactly what the criteria is. And of course, it's very important to make sure that you're applying the right criteria for your category. There are 27 categories altogether, and as I said before, 7 of those are new categories. So if I just touch on some of those, so best implementation of artificial intelligence is a new category. Clearly that's something that our industry is talking about a lot, and we see lots of organisations starting to experiment with AI. I guess what I would say about that particular category is that our expectation is we will see nominations from organisations that have started the approach. So they've started to test and learn, they may have started doing some pilots, they have actually done an implementation. So we're not expecting that it will be been there, done that, completed, move on to something else, because obviously that's part of business transformation. But we are looking for organisations that have tried something and have found it successful. We're looking for case studies that we can share across the industry. So it doesn't need to be all encompassing right across all of your processes. We just want to see that you've looked at it sensibly, that you've tried, you've tested it, you've implemented it, and that most importantly, you've seen some benefits from it. So that's the first new category. In terms of other new categories, so we have best cross-functional customer experience initiatives. So last year we had a category which was collaboration with marketing. So we've stretched that category to be cross-functional. So a lot of the feedback that we had was actually marketing and contact centre might work close together, but we see lots of other opportunities and lots of other experiences of departments working really closely together in order to improve the customer experience. So it may be that that is your marketing department and contact centre. It may be that it's your back office and front office operations. It may be that your IT team work closely together, or customer insight team. But we're looking for two teams that have worked really closely together in order to improve the customer experience. Under team awards, best contact centre support team, we've just tweaked that a little, but that is operational support teams. So teams that are supporting you on a day-to-day basis. If it's a team that are working with you on a larger scale strategic change, then it's more likely that that will fit under most effective business transformation or most effective improvement programme. If you're not sure, drop us a line, give us a call, talk to us about that and we'll help you through it. But day-to-day operational support team, that might be an analytics team, it might be your resource planning team, it might be your HR communications team, but team that are providing robust support to the contact centre. So under employee experience awards, this is where we've added the most new categories. So we've added most effective health and wellbeing programme, which I guess is self-explanatory, but we want to see that being deployed across the contact centre and the customer service teams. Best voice of the employee programme. So how are you listening to employees? What does the whole programme look like? So what have you deployed? What have been your findings? What action have you taken as a result of that? What benefits have you seen? The next new category is best employee flexible working scheme. So that can cover things like home working. It can cover things like a more flexible approach to your resource planning. It might be around flexible breaks and holidays, but how are you working with your employees to make sure that they're getting more work-life balance? And then under contact centre awards, the new category that we've added there is best pan-European contact centre. So what we're looking for there is an organisation that has got 2 or more of their contact centres in Europe, based in Europe. So you could have 2, you could have 5, you could have 10, but we're looking for the focus to be the number of contact centres that you've got based across Europe. Okay, I guess the other thing to focus on with categories is that some of those categories you might decide to be a joint entry. So for instance, most effective implementation of technology under the Innovation and Technology Awards. Last year we had quite a few nominations where it was a joint nomination. So you might decide that you want to nominate alongside your supplier. That's absolutely fine. Equally, Best Customer Insight Initiative, we've had a number of nominations that were a joint nomination from the supplier and the contact centre. That's absolutely fine, no problem at all with joint entries. All that we ask is on the nomination form, you lead with the contact centre, with the organisation, with the supplier being the secondary nominee. It's also absolutely fine to have one nomination that you enter for 2 categories. So you might think, okay, I'm not really sure whether it fits in one or the other. it could be that it actually fits in two. So you might, for instance, say that our most effective self-service initiative is also our most effective improvement programme. You might say that the best voice of the employee programme was also the area where we needed to improve most. So that's absolutely fine if you want to just cut and paste the nomination and apply for two categories. If we think it's not appropriate, when we do the qualifying, we say, actually, we don't think you should be in that category, we'll come back and we'll contact you and we'll talk you through that. Okay, so I'm just going to do another poll and just ask you to click which categories you're most interested in. Okay, so I can see some of you are clicking already. So I'm going to give this a few minutes. There are 27 categories there, obviously. Now, you may already have a clear view as to which categories you're interested in, or it may be that you want to spend a little bit of time thinking about which categories you're going to enter. That's absolutely fine. This is just to give us an indication, really, of which the most popular categories are. So feel free to click 2 or 3. That's absolutely fine. Not a problem at all. Okay, so the votes are coming in. Okay, we'll just give that a few minutes. So work your way down by the toolbar on the side will take you down so that you can see all of the entries there. So about half of you so far have clicked through. I can see that Contact Centre Support Team is very popular this year. I'll share these with you in a moment. Okay, just a few more people to take part. Okay, right, okay, I'll call it through there. Okay, and I'll just end the voting now. Thank you very much. And I'll share those results. Okay, so hopefully you can see there's a fair spread. I think every category has got people interested in it, which is a relief for us that we picked the right categories. Thank you very much. Okay, take you back to the main webinar now. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is just hand you over to Jackie Pringle, who will be your main point of contact going forward for any inquiries and helping you through the process. Jackie's going to talk you through screen by screen the process to actually submit your nomination form. So over to you, Jackie.
Okay, so all the entries are done online. And you get to that on the ECCCSA website. It's simple and it's easy. And as it says here, you can start your entry and then you can revisit it, excuse me, as many times as you like before you actually submit it. You must submit it by the deadline. We don't extend the deadline, so it does need to be with us by midnight on the 13th of July. You'll see there that we've got an early bird offer. So if you are interested in that, then if you have your nominations in with us by the 15th of June and paid for by the 15th of June, then you can have 3 nominations in for just £500 instead of the £295, which it would be for the individual one. And I'll explain a little bit more about that as we go through. Now, again, if we just run a quick poll here, just to see which areas of the business it is that you think the nominations are likely to come from, it just helps me to pitch how much detail to go into with the next few slides of the actual entry process. So we'll just let that run just a few minutes. Okay. That's great, thank you. So that helps. So it looks like they're coming from front office, back office, head office, yeah, marketing department. Okay, that's brilliant, thank you. So if we start to look at it then, the nomination process. So what you will do is you will visit the enter page of the website and you'll register your interest, and then you'll click on a link and receive a verification email from us, and that allows you to set up a username and password for the site. I'm going to show you what the screen looks like now. So you'll see here, once you're registered, this is also where you'll log in, and you can see that that box on the right there where you'll log in. So once you've registered or you've logged in, you will then see this screen, and it gives you lots of helpful information, rules and guidelines and dates and support. And you'll also start to see the buttons there appearing at the bottom. Okay. Once you're logged into the nomination site, you'll start your entry by selecting a category, and again I'm going to show you what this looks like in a moment. And then you'll submit your entry to add it to the shopping cart, and you can start however many that you want and submit these to add them to the shopping cart. So let's have a look what that screen looks like. So you'll see here that there are 5 tabs across the top. The first one on the left there is the details, and you can see the drop down arrow here under the categories, so you just can't go wrong. You'll give your entry a name. Now this I would recommend is name it something that you can relate to, use something that you understand internally within your organisation, particularly if you're doing multiple entries, so you'll know which one it is. You just can press save and next, and then move on to the next screen. Okay. Once you've picked the category, a description comes up here to help you. And when you get to the end of each page, press save and next. You'll see it here, the purple button. And remember, you can go back and edit your entry as many times as you like, right up till midnight on the deadline day. It will then take you to contact information. Now make sure that this information is really accurate, as this is the information that we'll use right up to award winners being announced on the stage, engraved on the trophies, up on the slides on the big screen, and the location of the contact centre, really important, so that if you are a finalist, that we know exactly where the judges are coming to visit you. Okay. So you'll see here, this next part is the main body of the submission, and the questions will vary here depending on which award you are entering. You can add supporting information, and my advice would be not to overload the judges. Provide relevant results, surveys, even videos if you like. And if you think a structure chart is useful for the judges to understand your organisation and how this initiative fits in, then let us have that too. And you can also add on that last tab that you'll see at the far right hand side, you can add names of the people that are involved. So you may want to do that as well. This next slide just shows you the rest of the questions. When you've answered all the questions, press save and next. You can press submit at any point as long as all the mandatory details are in. And you mustn't be afraid to press submit, because you can still edit it after you've done that. To take advantage of the early bird offer, you could submit 3 entries with minimum details in. So if it is a mandatory field that we're asking you to fill in, you can just put to be confirmed, and then you can come back to it later. That way, everything's in there. You can pay for them, get the early bird offer, and you can go back and complete them later. Our advice would be to get them in early and get paid early. You don't get the early bird offer unless you've paid by the 15th of June, and all your entries must be paid for before they go into the judging. We recommend that you pay as soon as you can, because some companies do have processes internally that delay things, and we absolutely wouldn't want you to miss the deadline. So you can either do it straight away, or you can do it when you submit your final entry. And I'm just going to show you what the pay screen looks like. So you can pay by PayPal or you can be invoiced. So really, really easy. And when you've done that, you can continue to add and edit your entries right up till that deadline. The one we have at midnight on the 13th of July is the one that we will use for judging. And as it says there, before then, you can even print those drafts off as PDFs to share them internally, to get some feedback from colleagues before you actually are happy with the finished article. So I hope that was helpful. I'm going to hand you back to Ann-Marie now, who can give you some really useful advice as the Chair of Judges.
Thank you very much, Jackie. Okay, so in terms of our experience last year and previous years of running this process, of course you've got to get your nomination in first to get past that first stage. So all the advice I'm going to give you is for that first stage, for that written nomination. So the judges are looking for you to provide a high-level overview of what you've achieved. Now, if I think back on last year's nominations, it was clear that people spent a very long time completing the nomination, but they sometimes wandered off topic. So they wandered in terms of trying to give us a list of every brilliant thing they'd ever done. And sometimes you were reading it thinking, I'm not really sure which category these people have entered. I'm not sure why they're giving me all this information. So my biggest piece of advice would be keep going back to the category description and be clear about what it is that you're telling the judges. I think it's also really important to create a story for the judges. So we started here, this was our situation, we had this opportunity or we had this problem, here's what we did about that, and here were the results that we achieved. And get somebody to read through the nomination outside the organisation, somebody that is looking at it as a layperson, to see whether it makes sense. Very often, if internal people review a document, they're reviewing it understanding the organisation's setup, structure, purpose, goals, and even jargon. And this is going to a judge outside the industry. So make sure that it tells a story and that story is really clear and interesting. We also get lots of nominations where people haven't put metrics in. So when I say metrics, I mean, what are the benefits that you realise, and put some figures around it. So if you implemented an activity that's brought about a 10% improvement or a 1% improvement, just tell us what that improvement is, because it's the data that allows us to do the benchmark. Otherwise, it could just be a good story that hasn't actually realised on a benefit. If you've not been able to establish what the benefits are, then is it really ready to be put forward for a nomination? So I would absolutely say, in some respect, less is more, but make sure that it's concise and it's factual, and it really grabs the judge's attention. If you want to add some additional materials and documents, again, don't overload the judges. Sometimes it's just interesting, sometimes it's just a nice video, but if you're entering something like best voice of the employee or best place to work, then if you can share with the judges your employee opinion survey results, your employee engagement scores, if you can share your customer satisfaction scores, then all of that is really helpful for the judges. I also think the judges find it really helpful to have an organisation chart. So if you've got something that simply shows how your organisation is set up, then they certainly find that really, really useful as well. We are going to be releasing a toolkit which will go live on the website next week. My advice as well is to download that, share that with your colleagues, read that through. It will give you lots of tips from the judges and from previous nominees as well. So make sure that you log in next week and download that. We will drop you a reminder email to say that that is available. Okay, so in terms of the judging process, I'm just going to cover this very high level. So there are 2 stages. So the first one is the written nomination. Nominations, as Jackie has talked through, you go via the ECCCSA website through to the awards portal, and on the 13th of July, the deadline is the deadline. Okay, so I know that a lot of award programs come out and say, oh, we've extended the deadline for a week. We do not do that. We never ever extend the deadline. We think that if we set a deadline, then it's not fair to everybody else that meets the deadline that we then extend it. So it's really, really important that you hit that deadline. And then the very next day, all those nominations will be passed out to the panel of judges online to go through the review. They don't see the name of the company, they see the nomination. And then that is scored, calibrated, and then we decide the shortlist. Stage 2, so if you are a finalist, if you make past stage 1 and you become a finalist, you go through to stage 2, and that's when we carry out face-to-face judging. So that is either via a panel or a face-to-face visit. So the face-to-face visits are for Contact Centre of the Year and Great Place to Work, where you would expect us to go and visit the operation to really see how it works. We don't care where you are, we'll come and visit you. So if it's in Europe, absolutely, we'll travel across Europe to see you. The face-to-face judging is carried out by usually 3 or 4 judges at any one time. And the panel judging takes place in London. So that is week commencing 10th of September and the 17th of September, and week commencing the 2nd of October. So we will work with you to get the most suitable date, and we'll tell you a little bit more about that as we progress to that stage and as you become finalists. So the face-to-face judging, as I said, that will be carried out during August and September and October. The awards evening takes place in London at Evolution. It's a fantastic venue. It will house up to about 1,500. We had 1,100 people there last year. An amazing night. As I said, no expenses spared. We make sure that it's a very entertaining evening. Tickets for the awards evening will go on sale in August. It includes a drinks reception, a very nice 4-course meal, but also it includes all your drinks during the evening as well. And it is the biggest awards evening held across Europe. Okay, that's just Evolution from the outside to give you a view of what it looked like. Okay, so what help is available after today then? So this webinar will be available via recording. So we will send a link out later on that gives you access to it. If you didn't catch the start of it, you'll have full access to that, and you can go in and out of that at any time. We've made the website as comprehensive as possible, so all the help you need is on there. You can follow us on social media and track some of the judges' visits and where they are. We've also got a helpline that is manned 9 to 5. Just ask for Jackie, and Jackie will be able to help any inquiries that you've got at all. If you want any advice on categories to enter, I'm very happy to have a call with you to talk through that and help you to understand which categories you should be entering or whether your nomination is appropriate for the right category. You can email us or you can call us on any one of those numbers. So I think that has covered everything. There's a few questions that people have posted, and I hope that I've answered those as we've gone through. We'll just bear with me while I just have a look through some of those. Yeah, I think we've answered. Just bear with me a second. Yeah, I think we've answered all of those. One about social impact, so that would be picked up on health and well-being. If 3 employees from the same category submit an entry, yeah, Yeah, that's fine. If it's 3 categories from one organisation, that's absolutely fine. Yes. We would ask that you try and pay for all 3 at any one time, so that we can join all three up. But that's fine. We'll detect that. So if there's 3 different entries come through, let's say your Barclays Bank, and you've got 3 different sites. If all 3 enter separately, we'll tie that up. So we'll know that it's 3 entries, and we'll apply the discount for you. What date will the finalists be notified? So we confirm the finalists on the 5th of August. So all of that information is on the website. If you go through the website, there is a timeline there, and that provides you with a full list of everything and when it happens. Okay, I think we've covered all of the questions there. So I'm going to bring the webinar to a close. Thank you very much for your time on this Friday afternoon. Any questions at all, please phone us or drop us an email. We're more than happy to help, more than happy to chat through the process for you and give you any guidance at all. As I say, the toolkit will be available next week. It's a very comprehensive document. Hopefully you'll find that very helpful as well. But thank you for giving up your time this afternoon. We're really excited about this year's awards, really looking forward to receiving your nominations, and look forward to talking to you and meeting with you during the rest of the process. Thank you and good afternoon.